a few days before the election. And ever since that has occurred, we've seen this complete failure of the Labour Party. So associations with Russell Brand do not seem to do anything positive at all for political careers.
I mean, this is exactly the same situation that happened in 2014. Nobody expected this country to swing so far to the right. And when you have austerity, this is what happens. People scapegoat immigrants, and they become racist, and they try to find a scapegoat. And I think that it seems that that was a lot of what was being played on, and how the conservatives get in. This is us heading toward fascism. This is what happens when you have austerity. You can go one or two ways. We can make the right decisions and go toward a New Deal program, a just nationalist, more nationalism, or we could go toward racism and fascism.
Yeah, I was speaking with the Labour candidate last night at the count, and he said that back when the economy was doing well, the issue of immigration wasn't an issue. Nobody was worried about it at all, because the economy was rolling and chugging along nicely. Everybody had jobs, was well off. So yeah, it was a non-issue. So how we clear up that whole problem from the political scene is to simply get the economy going again.
Yeah, and the ways to do that sometimes take a little bit of thought, and sometimes people don't necessarily seem to like thinking, and they turn reactionary and they like to react, and the closest thing to react to is immigrants are the problem, so you vote conservative, and we've got to get these liberals out. And I think they're going to be terrified when they see what's coming, when they see what they really voted in, because it's the start of historical fascism. Before we leave for this next 10 minutes, it was so wonderful to watch you bring the platform to the City University of London, and be on a panel with distinguished professors. You were the youngest person on the panel. There was the one lady who went up right after you and said, "It's good to see a young person challenging all these taboos." And it was interesting to me that at least they know that the city and the Bank of England are taboo. Well, we're out of time, Stuart, but just talking to Stuart Hooper and the UK elections on May 7th and the outstanding job that Stuart did were really, really world historical. So next we're going to have Adam Rodriguez, but I want to cover some ground before we get Adam on. The Tax Wall Street Party has large federal campaigns like we just experienced with Stuart that people sometimes can call protest campaigns, and they say, well, how are you ever going to win a big protest campaign for Parliament or for Senate or for President even? That these campaigns effectively push whatever race they're in to the left, and they are the most effective form of protest that I know. Historically, running a third-party candidate is one of the most effective forms of protest that we have. And then we also have realistic local campaigns where we run Democrats or sometimes even Republicans. It's not one or the other. People write to me daily and say, everybody has an opinion, and they say, you should only run local campaigns. What are you doing? You shouldn't run these protest campaigns. And the answer is that we are doing all of the above. So we have to act overtly with these big federal campaigns, and we also have to act covertly within the major parties with people like Adam Rodriguez who can win. It's looking more and more as we move forward that Adam has a real chance of winning this thing. We're going to get him on in the next segment. People go he's running for county commissioner. So people go from the commissionership to the federal level in his area, especially in the state of Pennsylvania, more often than they would go from, let's say, state rep to Congress. The commissioners are on the ground, and they know what it's like to run a small city or a town or even a large city. There's 177,000 people in Adam's district, and he could win. So as a serious operation, the Tax Wall Street Party has to help run candidates where we can win inside these major parties. We need candidates like Adam to do this. If we go out just screaming 1% Wall Street sales tax. Everybody seems to like the message, but for the most part, people are too concerned with their little wedge issues and identity politics on both the left and the right, and they're not really paying attention. The 1% Wall Street sales tax is going to have to come from inside the government through bills pushed by people like Adam, not necessarily protests on the street. So we have a similar dynamic inside. I'm on the Central Coordinating Committee for the Free Pinckney campaign, and there's a similar dynamic inside the Central Committee where we have the legal component and we have the activism. Both need to exist. Sometimes they're at odds. Some days the lawyers hate the activists and vice versa, but both are aspects of the whole and need attention. Adam's talked a lot on other episodes about how he's a student of national banking and progressive taxation, and I want to cover the fact that he needs, and maybe he'll talk to us about that when he comes on, but I need to make sure that we cover the mailer he needs. It's too late and too expensive to do a yard sign campaign. I'm not a big fan of yard sign campaigns anyway. The mailers are more effective, in my opinion, especially if they're targeted like these. Yard signs are good if you have a lot of money, but after running a cost-benefit analysis on the yard signs, doesn't yield enough. We can print up a few yard signs and large banners to take down to the polling places on the day of the election, which is May 19th, and we can stand there all day with our banners so people say, oh yeah, that's Adam Rodriguez. I think it's better than a sign just sitting out on a lawn, but we need to do a mailer similar to the mailer that we did for Stuart Hooper, where we got 43,000 leaflets in every mailbox to all the UK residents in Hooper's district. That was historic, just to get 43,000 leaflets in to a mailbox. So Adam needs to do something similar, but unlike Stuart, who got the Royal Mail service for free, that was the majority of the cost. The postage, if you estimate it, was almost $20,000. If you can't think about, maybe 50 cents for a stamp, and Royal Mail covered all 43,000 of those. So we only had to produce the leaflets. So for Adam, American elections do not cover the cost of the mailing. So for Adam, we're going to do a targeted mailing. This is different. We realize today we have just enough for the bulk printing of the mailer, but then there's the postage. So we're asking for donations. When Adam comes on, he'll let us know where we can send those donations. And once we get them printed, which they're in the process of being printed, we are going to know how many we can mail out based on how much money we have for postage. This is a postcard mailer campaign. It's going to be targeted at super voters. Most normal people during the general don't pay attention to literature, but during a primary like this, if we target these super voters, they will read our cards. A targeted mailer like this is better because Adam's giving information about himself as opposed to some vague sign like we talked about on the side of a road. And there's also breaking news that could mean a lot on May 19th. Adam won a lottery to be first on the ballot, to have his name appear first. So here's what this means. There's 4 people in the primary, and positioning on the ballot was done by lottery. Adam won the lottery. This is a huge deal. Appearing first gives Adam statistically at least an extra 10 percentage points. That's a big advantage, especially since nobody running in this race has any name recognition in the area. They're all essentially unknown, so it's not like Adam's running against this 10-term incumbent Democrat or anything like that. So the fact that his name is first could mean we win this, and if he wins, it looks like he wins the seat, if he wins the primary. Adam spoke to 3 people that are in the county building, and one of them has been there for 35 years as a county treasurer, and she says that she wholeheartedly endorses Adam. And not only does she endorse Adam, but a lot of people down at the county building are watching the race. They like what Adam has to say. They understand that Adam's sincere and more knowledgeable about the issues than the others. So he has support from the old line Democrats, the blue dog Labor Democrats up in that area in Pennsylvania, the people that have been there forever, and they're looking at Adam and they're saying that he's the guy they like the deputy assistant to the chief clerk spoke to Adam the other day at length. She told him that over the past 4 years, 2 current commissioners, the 2 Republicans, had fired she told him the story about how they fired 65 people at will. So 65 officials were fired simply because, they were on the other side of the aisle. They didn't agree with them. And they got rid of them summarily. These guys are not nice. The 2 that are the commissioners right now, they're Tea Party backed. And if you don't agree with these guys in the county, you're gone. Adam has been talking a lot about the idea of 701 Main. It's a $7 million boondoggle the county is basically engaged in. When they could have had free buildings, the county had only $80,000 in their budget, and they had to make payroll. And you're talking 4,000 to 5,000 employees in that county that get paid. So what they did, rather than going out and floating the note for the extra money, they took away all the benefits for 370,000 non-unionized employees and basically said, okay, fine, well, you're not getting your benefits because you don't have, you have better health plans than we have in the private sector. Well, you didn't fight for your health plans in the private sector, so you don't get it. And these are state employees working for the municipality. They don't get a lot of money. They depend on the security of the job. And that includes decent benefits to keep their family alive. And these guys stripped away basically that right overnight. So these are the kinds of characters that Adam's having to deal with. Bad decisions to purchase buildings like 701 Main when they could have had buildings from the school board for free. The school board said that they would give them buildings because the population's reducing up there. The population's decreasing in the county because of the housing collapse. So there's not as many students. They had these 2 big free buildings to give away. We'll discuss more of this on the other side. We have Adam Rodriguez, County Commissioner. We have Adam Rodriguez with us. Adam, in the last segment, are you there, sir?
Yes, I am.
Good to hear your voice. Adam, in the last segment, I tried to preface a lot of what's going on and what you're up against up in your county. The Tea Party back guys, their bad decisions,
right.
The donations for the targeted mailer. Can you answer a few questions, specific things first before we move forward? Can you tell us where people can donate for the targeted mailer of the postcards?
Sure, yeah. They can go to my website, and that's Adam for Commissioner, AdamForCommissioner.com, and they can go there and click on the PayPal link, and it's up and running, and it works fine. So if they want to donate anything that they want to give, any little bit helps. So
I gave a long explanation in the last 10 minutes about exactly what we need the money for, and what how those postcards are being targeted at super voters.
Great.
So that's what I wanted to talk about today. How do you think you can advance the ideas of UFAA and the Tax Wall Street Party in the commissionership at the municipal level?
Right. Well, that's a great question. Being at the municipal level is a great place to start for people that want to not only understand how local government works, but where all the policy that's set in Washington and in Harrisburg here in Pennsylvania, how that affects your local government, and really this is where the fight is, because this is where the rubber hits the road. So if you're going to understand how to improve things, how to change things in terms of local legislation, ordinances, zoning laws, that's all done right here, and all that helps to augment your experience. Now, as it relates specifically to some of the issues that the UFAA has, from a very progressive standpoint, progressive taxation, the idea of what they call the Wall Street sales tax or the financial transaction tax. I invited someone to the Democratic Party here last year. He came in and spoke about the financial transaction tax. Now, that was only at 1/3 of 1%. But he was saying if you really want to get that done at the state level, make it targeted. In other words, once you get a little bit of a taste of it, at the state level, you tend to kind of say you expand on these things. So the one thing that we could do with the 1/3, 1%, or even a full 1%, which is what I was advocating for, is to retire municipal debt. So you have municipal pension debt, You have state pension debt amongst the teachers' unions here. You have state pension debt for AFSCME workers, the American Federation of State and City Employees. You have AFG workers. Well, that's actually federal. But point being is that